Tonight is a small journey, not towards something new or distant, but a gentle turning back towards something already known, something you have been carrying for a very long time, so long that it feels like part of your body now. Here is a simple truth. Holding on is tiring, not because you are weak, not because you failed to understand, but because everything changes, even when we wish it would stay. You may already know this. Your mind understands it clearly. You have thought it through many times. You have said the words to yourself. But knowing is not the same as releasing. The body holds longer than the mind. The heart tightens even after the story ends. And this gap is exhausting. You are not confused. You are simply tired from carrying something that has already begun to shift. Maybe it is a relationship, not dramatic or broken, just slowly becoming different, quieter than it used to be. You still show up the same way. You still respond the same way, even though something inside you knows the shape has changed. So you keep holding, not out of hope or denial, but out of habit, out of familiarity. This is not a mistake. This is human. In Buddhist teaching, there is a simple idea: nothing stays the same, and suffering comes from gripping what moves, not because attachment is wrong, but because it asks the impossible. It asks life to freeze, and life does not do that. When we hold tighter, it is often because we care deeply, because letting go feels like losing part of ourselves. But letting go is not forgetting. It is allowing what has changed to be what it already is. No pushing, no forcing. Right now, you may be listening quietly. The day is mostly over. The outside world has softened, but your thoughts are still awake. They revisit old moments. They rehearse conversations. They try to solve something that may not need solving anymore. If that feels familiar, you are not alone tonight. Others are listening right now too, in different rooms, different lives, each of them holding something gently, each of them feeling the weight of knowing and not releasing yet. This is a shared human place. If it feels helpful, you can leave a simple comment later, just where you are listening from. Nothing more than that. Sometimes naming our place helps us feel grounded. It reminds us we exist here, now, and that others do too. In the moments ahead, we will move slowly together, through simple stories, through ordinary human moments, not to fix you, not to convince you, just to sit beside this tired place with honesty and care. You are invited to stay, to listen without effort, to let the night hold you as these stories unfold. Story 1. The teacup that was never empty. The night settles slowly over a small wooden house. A single lamp glows beside a low table. Outside, the air rests without movement. Inside, an old monk breathes quietly, unhurried. He has lived many seasons with this lamp. It flickers softly, like his thoughts once did. Tonight, his shoulders feel heavy, not with age, but with remembering. For many years, he carried a full teacup, not in his hands, but in his chest, filled with duties, expectations, quiet promises, filled so long, it became familiar weight. He once believed fullness meant safety. A full cup meant he was needed, that others depended on him, that he was doing life correctly. But fullness requires constant guarding. Any small spill brings worry. Any pause feels like danger, and guarding grows tiring with time. One evening, long ago, a teacher visited him. The teacher watched him pour tea carefully, drop by drop, steady and precise, until the cup could hold no more. The teacher said nothing at first, only waited, breathing with the room, then spoke softly. Like a breeze, a full cup has no space for rest. Those words stayed with him. They stayed during long workdays, during nights filled with planning, during years of holding everything together. Tonight, he remembers them again, not as advice, but as comfort. The cup was never meant to stay full. It was meant to be refilled gently. He sets his imagined cup down, not empty, not overflowing, just resting on the table of his heart, allowed to be as it is. His breath loosens its grip. The chest softens, little by little. Nothing needs solving right now. Nothing needs carrying alone. Perhaps you feel this weight too. The weight of staying prepared. The weight of holding it all, even while your body asks for rest. Tonight, you may set the cup down, not to abandon responsibility, but to honor your tired hands and the quiet wisdom of release. The monk smiles into the dim light. He whispers to the room, almost playfully, "A cup is useful because it can empty, and so are we." Story 2. The long road home. The road stretches gently beneath the moon. Not long, not short, just steady. An elderly traveler walks without hurry. Each step meets the earth with kindness. He once walked this road every day, back when his work was heavy, back when arriving mattered more, back when rest felt earned, not allowed. Now the road welcomes him differently. It does not ask for speed. It does not measure effort. It simply receives his footsteps. Years ago, he chased the end of this road, believing home waited only there, believing peace lived in arrival, believing stopping meant falling behind. But the body keeps quiet records. It remembers each rushed breath, each skipped pause, each night spent thinking instead of sleeping. One evening, his legs refused speed. They slowed without asking permission. Anger rose, then fear, then something softer followed. The road did not disappear. The moon did not judge him. Nothing collapsed when he slowed. Life continued, quietly unchanged. He noticed sounds he had missed. Crickets weaving gentle rhythms. Leaves shifting in unseen conversations. His own breath returning home. In Buddhist teaching, there is a simple truth. The path is not separate from peace. Walking is not a delay. It is already the destination. He understood this with his mind before, but now his knees understood too. So did his tired back. So did his worried heart. Tonight, the road feels shorter, not because distance changed, but because resistance softened, because arriving stopped being urgent. He pauses, not from weakness, but from listening deeply. The ground supports him without question. The night holds him without demand. Maybe you are walking such a road, carrying goals that once mattered greatly, still moving, though the meaning shifted, still pushing, though the pace hurts. You are not wrong for slowing. The road does not resent you. It meets you exactly where you are. Every step already belongs. The traveler smiles into the dark. He speaks softly, as if to you, when walking becomes enough, rest follows naturally, and the road walks you home. Story 11. The clock with no numbers. The room is quiet, except for a gentle ticking. An old clock hangs on the wall. Its face is smooth and pale. There are no numbers anywhere. A woman sits beneath it every night. After long days of work and care, she watches the hands move slowly. Though she cannot name the hour, once she lived by numbered time, meetings, deadlines, reminders, her worth measured in minutes, her rest delayed until later. The numbered clock broke one winter. It fell quietly, without drama. The glass cracked like thin ice, and something inside her softened too. A friend gave her this new clock, plain, undecorated, strangely calm. At first, it unsettled her deeply. How could time pass without counting? She worried about being late, about forgetting something important, about losing control of the day. The body held its old habits tightly, yet the clock kept ticking, steady, patient, unconcerned. Morning arrived when it arrived. Night rested when it rested. She began to notice her breath, rising and falling without numbers. No need to label each moment, just feeling the movement of life. In Buddhist teaching, time is not an enemy. It is a river that flows, regardless. Suffering comes from wrestling the current. Peace comes from floating gently. One evening, she stopped watching entirely. She lay back in her chair. The ticking faded into softness. Her shoulders lowered on their own. She slept more deeply that night. Nothing urgent was lost. Nothing essential was missed. Life continued, quietly faithful. Perhaps you live beneath numbered clocks, inside phones, untintum, calendars, expectations. They speak loudly even at night, telling you to hurry or improve. Tonight, you may imagine a clock without numbers, still moving, still alive, but no longer demanding anything, only reminding you that time passes kindly. The woman touches the wall lightly. She whispers, not to the clock, but herself. When I stop counting, I begin living, and rest finds me naturally. Story 12. The basket of stones. A monk walks beside a river at dusk. He carries a woven basket. Inside, stones press heavily. Each step feels deliberate and slow. The stones were not always there. He added them one by one. A worry here, a regret there, each stone chosen without noticing. He believed strength meant carrying weight. That endurance proved devotion. That release meant failure. So he kept adding stones. The river has seen this before. Many walkers pass with heavy loads. Some drop them quickly. Some never do. Tonight, the monk's back aches deeply. Not sharp pain, just dull fatigue. The kind that whispers quietly, asking for kindness instead of pride. He sits near the water's edge, sets the basket down carefully, listens to the river speak. It says nothing, yet teaches everything. Water flows without holding stones. It touches them briefly, then moves on, still strong, still shaping earth, never exhausted by keeping. In the Buddha's teaching, grasping causes pain, not because we are wrong, but because hands were made to open and hearts were made to soften. The monk lifts one stone, feels its cool, familiar weight, thanks it quietly for its lesson, then places it into the river, one by one. Stones return home. The basket grows lighter. His breath deepens with each release. No ceremony, no urgency. When the basket is empty, he does not feel empty inside. He feels spacious, capable of rest. The river carries the stones onward, without judgment or resistance. Just movement, just flow, just quiet acceptance. Maybe you carry such a basket, invisible, yet deeply felt, filled with should-haves and if-onlys, carried long past necessity. Tonight, you do not need to empty everything, perhaps just one stone. Even noticing its weight is enough. Compassion begins there. The monk stands slowly. He bows to the river and whispers into the fading light. What I release teaches me how to live. Story 13. The lamp in the hallway. A narrow hallway stretches quietly. One small lamp glows at its center. The rest remains softly dim. Nothing hurried moves here. An elderly teacher walks this hall each night. From his room to the kitchen, the lamp lights just enough. Never the entire path at once. Once, he feared the darkness ahead, wanted full light, full certainty. He rushed, flipping every switch, exhausting himself with preparation. But age taught him differently. The body asked for gentler ways. The mind grew tired of control. The hallway offered a lesson. The lamp only shows the next step. Not the end. Not tomorrow. Just now. In Buddhist wisdom, this is enough. Awareness does not need far sight. Only presence. Only kindness with this moment. He walks slowly, trusting the light. Each step appears when needed. No more. No less. The darkness waits patiently beyond. Tonight, he pauses midway, feels the warmth of the lamp, listens to the quiet house breathe. Nothing asks more of him. He remembers years of overthinking, planning conversations not yet spoken, carrying worries not yet real, losing sleep to imagined futures. The hallway never demanded that. It only offered this step, and then the next. Always enough. Perhaps your nights feel like long hallways, thoughts reaching far ahead, lights switched on everywhere, leaving you restless and awake. Tonight, you may dim the switches. Allow one gentle lamp, just this breath, just this moment. The teacher reaches the kitchen door. He smiles, not triumphant, just grateful for the walk, grateful for trust. He says softly to the quiet air, light does not rush. It arrives when needed. And so do we. Story 14. The borrowed coat. Winter rests softly over the town. Snow hushes every sound. An old man stands outside a shop, wearing a coat too large for him. It was never his coat. A friend lent it years ago, during a difficult season, when warmth felt hard to find. The coat served him well, sheltered him through cold nights, wrapped him in kindness, became familiar, almost part of him. But winters changed. So did his body. The coat grew heavier, less suited to his steps. He kept wearing it anyway, out of gratitude, out of fear of seeming ungrateful, out of habit. His shoulders stooped under its weight, not from age alone, but from carrying what no longer fit. The body knew before the mind. One morning, his friend returned, older now, softer around the eyes. They shared tea without hurry, silence comfortable between them. The man held the coat gently, thanked it without words, then returned it with a bow. No apology, no explanation. In Buddhist teaching, attachment often wears gratitude's face. We hold because it once helped, but clinging past usefulness brings pain. Release can also honor kindness. Walking home, he felt lighter. The cold did not harm him. The body moved more freely. Warmth came from within. Perhaps you wear a borrowed coat, a role, an old promise, once helpful, now heavy, still worn out of loyalty. Tonight, you may loosen it slightly, Not discard it harshly. Just rest your shoulders. Notice your own warmth. The man sits by his window, snow drifting gently outside. He whispers to the night. Gratitude does not require carrying forever. Story 15. The unfinished letter. A desk sits by a quiet window. Moonlight rests on its surface. A letter lies unfinished, ink dried halfway through a sentence. A woman has avoided this letter for years, always meaning to finish it, always finding reasons not to. The words felt too heavy. The letter was never angry. It was honest, and honesty requires courage, which sometimes grows tired. She carried the unwritten ending inside, through work days and family gatherings, through nights of restless sleep. It whispered whenever things slowed. Tonight, she opens the window slightly. Cool air enters without force. She sits, not to finish, just to breathe near the letter. In Buddhist teaching, intention matters more than completion. The heart's movement counts, even when action pauses. Compassion includes ourselves. She touches the paper lightly, feels no pressure to continue, no demand for closure, only presence. Tears arrive quietly, not from sadness alone, from relief at stopping the fight, from allowing the moment. The letter remains unfinished, and that is acceptable. The burden lessens anyway, because honesty was felt. Perhaps you carry an unfinished letter too, something unsaid, unresolved, living quietly in your chest, asking only for acknowledgement. Tonight, you do not need answers, just gentle attention, just allowing the feeling. Completion may come, or not. The woman folds the letter carefully, places it in a drawer, not hidden, not rejected, just resting. She whispers into the still room. Some truths heal simply by being held, and rest follows naturally. Story 16. The garden gate. Morning light touches a small garden. A wooden gate stands slightly open. An old caretaker watches quietly. He no longer rushes to close it. Years ago, he guarded this gate fiercely, checked it again and again, afraid of losing control, afraid something precious might escape. The garden grew tense under his watch. Plants bent stiffly. Flowers bloomed briefly. The soil felt tight. One season, illness slowed him. He sat more than walked. The gate stayed open by chance, and something surprising happened. The garden breathed. Birds visited softly. Wind moved freely. Nothing was stolen. In Buddhist teaching, control often masks fear. We tighten to feel safe, but safety grows from trust, and trust grows from rest. Now, the gate opens and closes naturally. With weather and time, the caretaker simply notices, no longer managing every moment. The garden thrives differently, less perfect, more alive. Leaves fall where they fall. Growth follows its own rhythm. Perhaps you guard a gate like this, around your heart, around your plans, around your sense of self. Tonight, you may loosen the latch slightly, not to invite harm, but to allow breathing, to allow ease. The caretaker smiles into the light. He speaks softly, as if to you. What is alive does not need constant guarding. It needs gentle trust. Story 17. The quiet seat. A train platform rests in stillness. One bench remains empty. An old woman chooses it deliberately, away from the rush. She once filled every seat with effort. Tasks, conversations, expectations. Silence felt uncomfortable, like something missing. Now she seeks the quiet seat, not out of loneliness, but out of respect for rest. The body learned this first. Trains arrive and depart. She does not board them all. Some destinations no longer call. Some urgency has faded. In Buddhist teaching, desire is movement. Stillness is not failure. It is wisdom recognizing enough. A deep kind of arrival. She closes her eyes briefly, listens to distant sounds, feels the bench support her. Nothing else is required. Perhaps you have been boarding every train, chasing each demand, rarely sitting, rarely arriving. Tonight, you may choose the quiet seat, even for a few breaths, even for this story. Rest begins here. The woman opens her eyes slowly, smiles at nothing in particular, and whispers to the waiting air. Sometimes, staying is the journey. Story 18. The bowl of rice. Steam rises gently from a bowl. Plain rice. Warm and simple. A monk sits cross-legged nearby, eating without distraction. Once, meals were rushed, eaten while planning the next task. The body fed, the mind starved. Satisfaction always delayed. Now each grain receives attention, texture, warmth, nourishment, no judgment, no comparison, just this moment. In Buddhist teaching, mindfulness lives here, not in grand ideas, but in ordinary acts. Fully met, the monk finishes slowly, feels content without fullness, grateful without needing more, at ease with enough. Perhaps your days feel rushed like meals once did, consumed quickly, leaving hunger behind. Tonight, you may slow. Let this moment feed you. Nothing extra required, nothing missing. The monk bows to the empty bowl and whispers gently, "When we truly receive, we are already full." Story 19. The cracked bell. A temple bell hangs quietly. A thin crack runs along its side. Once, the caretaker worried deeply, believing it ruined. But when struck, the bell sings, its tone softer, deeper, more human, more tender. In Buddhist teaching, brokenness is not failure. It is the sound of experience. What has lived deeply resonates. What has cracked can still sing. The caretaker listens each evening, no longer wishing it whole, honoring its voice, honoring his own. Perhaps you feel cracked in places, from work, from life, from love. Tonight, know this: the bell sings because of the crack, and so do you. Story 20. The last candle. One candle burns low, wax pooled quietly beneath. An old teacher watches it gently. No desire to relight another. The flame flickers, then steadies, giving light without effort. Not concerned with lasting, just being present. In Buddhist teaching, life is like this flame, precious because it changes, beautiful because it ends, meaningful because it is now. The candle dims naturally. Darkness arrives kindly. The room rests. The teacher whispers softly. Nothing was wasted. Everything was enough. Story 21. The river bench at dawn. A wooden bench rests beside a slow river. Morning light spreads gently across the water. An elderly man sits without purpose, just breathing, just listening. He comes here before the day begins, before emails, before obligations, before the mind gathers its lists. The river asks nothing of him. Years ago, he filled mornings with effort. News, Plans. Rehearsed conversations. He believed readiness prevented pain. Instead, it invited exhaustion. The river moves steadily beside him, never rushing, never stopping, carrying leaves. Reflections. Old stories. Letting everything pass. In Buddhist teaching, this is a quiet lesson. Life flows whether we push or resist. Suffering grows from gripping the bank. Peace grows from floating attention. He watches a branch drift by, once part of a larger tree, now simply water's companion, neither lost nor clinging. His breath matches the river's pace. Thoughts loosen their hold. The body recognizes safety. Nothing must be solved here. Perhaps your mornings begin with tension, before the day even starts, carrying weight from yesterday, borrowing worry from tomorrow. Tonight, or early tomorrow, you may imagine this bench. No role to perform, no outcome required. The man stands when ready, thanks the river silently, and whispers to the rising light, "Flow does the work I cannot." Story 22. The drawer of old keys. A small drawer slides open quietly. Inside rests a collection of keys. Different shapes, different ages, none used anymore. An old woman keeps them carefully, not from necessity, but from memory. Each key once opened something important. A first apartment, a childhood home, an office door she locked nightly. Each season, leaving its trace. She once feared letting them go, as if doors would vanish forever, as if memory required metal, as if the past might feel abandoned. One evening, she holds a single key, its teeth worn smooth. She remembers long hours working late, trying to prove her worth. In Buddhist teaching, identity shifts like weather. Roles arrive, stay briefly, then pass. Clinging to old forms brings heaviness. Honoring them allows rest. She places the key back gently, not discarding it, just releasing the need to carry it daily. The drawer closes softly, her shoulders lower without effort. The body understands before the mind. Nothing essential was lost. Only weight was set down. Perhaps you carry old keys too. Titles, habits, expectations, once useful, now heavy, still jingling in your pocket at night. Tonight, you may place them in a drawer, not to forget, but to rest your hands. Memory lives without metal. The woman smiles faintly. She whispers into the quiet room. Doors open when needed, and hands deserve to be free. Story 23. The slow elevator. A tall building hums softly at night. An elevator descends at its own pace. An elderly caretaker rides alone. No buttons pressed repeatedly. He once hurried these rides, watching numbers anxiously, feeling delayed by every floor, believing speed equaled worth. Now he leans lightly against the wall, listens to the gentle motion, feels the floor steady beneath him. Nothing demands arrival. In Buddhist teaching, impatience is suffering, not because waiting is wrong, but because the moment is rejected. Peace begins with acceptance. The elevator continues downward, smooth, predictable, calm, doing exactly what it must. Without apology, his breath slows naturally. The ride becomes a pause, a small pocket of rest, hidden inside the workday. Perhaps your mind rushes like old elevators, jumping ahead, resisting stillness, measuring time harshly. Tonight, you may ride slowly. Let the numbers pass, unnoticed. Let the descent soothe you. Arrival will come, The doors open quietly. The caretaker steps out refreshed. He murmurs softly. Every pause carries me. Story 24. The mended fence. A low fence lines a small field. Wood worn smooth by weather. An old farmer walks its length slowly, checking each post with care. Once, he replaced boards constantly, chasing perfection, ashamed of cracks and gaps, afraid of judgment. Years taught him patience. He now mends only what's needed, leaves small imperfections, allows the fence to breathe. In Buddhist teaching, wholeness includes flaws, repair without obsession, care without control. This is middle balance. The field remains safe. Animals wander peacefully. Nothing escapes. Nothing is forced. Perhaps you repair yourself endlessly, fixing, adjusting, correcting, never resting in enough. Tonight, you may stop mending. The farmer rests his hands, looks across the field, and whispers kindly, "Strong things bend and remain." Story 25. The open notebook. A notebook lies open on a table. Blank pages, waiting patiently. An old writer sits nearby, pen resting, unmoving. He once filled pages relentlessly. Afraid silence meant emptiness. Words poured like proof. Effort replacing listening. Now he waits before writing. Lets thoughts arrive naturally. Some days, nothing comes, and that is fine. In Buddhist teaching, emptiness is potential. Space allows wisdom. Silence teaches gently. Nothingness is not lacking. The page remains blank tonight. The writer closes the notebook calmly. No disappointment arises. Rest feels complete. Perhaps your mind demands constant output. Ideas, plans, answers. Tonight, you may rest the pen. Blankness can hold peace. He turns off the lamp softly, whispers to the dark. Not every page needs words. Story 26. The worn path. A narrow path cuts through tall grass, worn by many footsteps. An old teacher walks it slowly, feeling the earth beneath. He once tried new routes constantly, seeking shortcuts, avoiding repetition, believing progress required novelty. This path taught him otherwise. Familiar ground offers trust. Muscle memory relaxes. The mind follows gently. In Buddhist teaching, repetition is practice. Returning again and again deepens understanding. Stability nurtures peace. He reaches the end contentedly. No surprise awaited, only presence. Perhaps your nights repeat worries, circling familiar thoughts. Tonight, walk them gently. Familiarity can soothe. The teacher bows to the path and murmurs softly, "Returning is not failure." Story 27. The quiet mailbox. A small mailbox stands at the road. Paint faded, flag lowered. An elderly woman checks it slowly. No urgency in her steps. Once, she waited anxiously. Bills, letters, decisions. The box carried weight. Each visit stirred tension. Now, she opens it calmly. Some days empty, some days full. Her breath remains steady. In Buddhist teaching, expectation fuels anxiety. Receiving without grasping brings ease. Whatever arrives belongs to now, nothing more. She closes the box gently, walks back inside. The day feels lighter. Perhaps you await messages constantly, notifications echoing at night. Tonight, lower the flag. Nothing urgent waits. She smiles faintly. whispers into the quiet yard. What comes will come. Story 28. The Stone Bridge. A stone bridge arches over water. Solid, unmoving, patient. An old pilgrim crosses slowly, feeling each step. The bridge has weathered centuries. Floods, storms, silence. It does not hurry travelers. It simply holds. In Buddhist teaching, support exists quietly. We forget what carries us until we slow enough to notice. Gratitude grows there. The pilgrim pauses mid-bridge, looks at flowing water below, feels supported without effort. Trust returns. Perhaps you cross difficult spans, relying on unseen strength. Tonight, notice what holds you. Rest into it. He bows gently and whispers, I am carried more than I know. Story 29. The shared umbrella. Rain falls softly at dusk. Two strangers share an umbrella briefly, walking together without words. Steps naturally matched. They park quietly at the corner. No exchange needed. Warmth lingers. Kindness felt. In Buddhist teaching, connection is simple. Moments of shared presence. No attachment required. Just recognition. Perhaps you feel alone often, yet small kindnesses surround you. Tonight, remember this. The rain continues gently, and the street glows softly. Nothing more is needed. Story 30. The Evening Bell. An evening bell sounds once. Low, resonant, kind. An old monk listens carefully, hands resting calmly. The sound fades naturally. Silence follows without loss. Both belong together. Neither clings. In Buddhist teaching, beginnings and endings meet. Nothing must be held. Listening is enough. Rest completes itself. The monk smiles into the quiet hall and speaks softly, as if to you. When the bell fades, peace remains. Story 31. The Open Window. At night, the house grows quiet as night deepens. An open window lets cool air enter. Curtains move gently, almost breathing. An elderly man sits nearby, listening. He once kept windows tightly shut, afraid of drafts, noise, uncertainty. Believing comfort came from control. Believing safety meant sealing life out. Years of effort taught him otherwise. Stale air brings restlessness. Fresh air brings calm, even when it carries unknown scents. Tonight, the window stays open. Crickets sing without invitation. A distant car pass, then fades. Nothing lingers too long. In Buddhist teaching, openness softens suffering. The clenched fist grows tired. The open hand rests easily, letting life move freely. The man notices his breath deepen, chest rising without strain, thoughts drifting like curtains, coming, leaving, unnoticed. He remembers nights of worry, replaying conversations endlessly, holding fear like a shield, exhausting himself by guarding peace. The window never demanded protection. It simply allowed exchange. Inside and outside meeting briefly, neither losing themselves. Perhaps your nights feel sealed shut. Thoughts circling inside. Air growing heavy. Sleep waiting patiently beyond. Tonight, you may imagine opening a window, not to invite trouble, but to invite movement, to allow freshness. The man closes his eyes gently. The night air cools his face. He whispers into the quiet room, what I allow to pass cannot harm me. Story 32. The Empty Chair. A wooden chair rests across the room, unoccupied, patient, still. An old woman notices it each evening. It once felt painfully empty. The chair belonged to someone she loved. Shared meals, shared silences, shared years that passed too quickly. Its emptiness spoke loudly at first. She avoided the room for months, chose other spaces, filled time with noise, trying not to feel absence. Over time, her steps slowed. She returned to the chair quietly, sat nearby, breathing gently, allowing what was missing to exist. In Buddhist teaching, loss is part of love. Impermanence touches everything. Clinging to form deepens pain. Honoring connection brings peace. One evening, she placed a book there, not to replace, just to acknowledge presence, memory without demand. The chair softened in her eyes, no longer empty, simply available, holding space kindly. Her heart learned this slowly. Absence does not erase love. Silence does not mean nothingness. Presence takes many shapes. Perhaps you carry an empty chair inside, a space once filled, now aching quietly. Tonight, you may sit beside it. No fixing required. No rushing through grief. Just gentle company. Just breathing together. The woman turns off the light softly. The chair remains where it is. She whispers tenderly, "What mattered still rests with me." Story 33. The paper lantern. A paper lantern glows in the yard. Soft light against deep night. An old gardener adjusts its height carefully. He knows the wind well. Once, he used brighter lights, flooding the space with certainty, chasing shadows away forcefully, creating glare instead of warmth. The lantern taught him restraint. Too much light blinds. Too little leaves fear. Balance brings calm. In Buddhist teaching, the middle way rests here. Neither grasping nor neglecting. Gentle illumination. Enough to see the next step. The lantern sways slightly. The gardener does not correct it. Movement belongs to life. Stillness follows naturally. He remembers nights of anxiety, thoughts racing like harsh lights. No shadows allowed, no rest permitted. Now shadows move freely. They soften rather than threaten. The body understands safety. The mind follows slowly. Perhaps your nights feel too bright. Thoughts glaring, unforgiving. Tonight, imagine a lantern, just enough light. The gardener smiles at the glow, steps back into the house, and murmurs kindly, "Gentle light guides better than force." Story 34. The slow kettle. A kettle warms on the stove. Steam begins to rise quietly. An old teacher waits patiently nearby. No clock is checked. Once, he rushed the boil, turning heat too high, burning water, burning himself. Impatience disguised as efficiency. Time softened his habits. He learned water listens to patience. Heat applied gently does its work. Rushing brings bitterness. In Buddhist teaching, timing matters. Effort without gentleness harms. True care includes waiting. Wisdom simmers slowly. The kettle sings softly at last. Not sharp, just ready. The teacher pours without haste. The sound comforts the room. He remembers nights spent forcing sleep, counting minutes aggressively, judging rest harshly, creating tension instead of ease. Now he allows warmth to build, breath by breath, moment by moment. Sleep arrives when ready. Perhaps you force rest unknowingly, demanding calm, demanding silence. Tonight, Let warmth rise naturally. The teacher cups the mug gently. Steam touches his face. He whispers softly. What is patient becomes kind. Story 35. The folded blanket. A blanket rests folded at the foot of the bed. Soft. Worn. Familiar. An elderly woman smooths its edges. A nightly ritual. Once, she wrapped herself tightly, seeking protection, seeking certainty. The blanket carried more than warmth. Years taught her gentler use. The body no longer needs armor, just comfort, just permission to rest. In Buddhist teaching, refuge begins within. External supports help, but clinging tightens fear. Softness invites trust. She unfolds the blanket slowly, lets it drape naturally. No tension in her hands, no struggle in her shoulders. Memories surface briefly. Cold nights, hard seasons. They pass without gripping, like breath leaving. Perhaps you clutch comfort tightly, holding habits, routines, reassurances. Tonight, allow softness. Let comfort rest lightly. The woman lies down calmly. The blanket warms without weight. She whispers gently. Rest does not require holding on. Story 36. The old calendar. A calendar hangs quietly on the wall. Pages curl slightly at the edges. An old man turns it slowly, 1 month at a time. He once tore pages eagerly, racing forward, counting days as obstacles, never fully arriving. Now each page receives a pause, a glance, a quiet goodbye, nothing hurried. In Buddhist teaching, moments complete themselves. We do not need to push endings. Time moves faithfully. Our task is noticing. The new page reveals little change. Same light, same room. The body relaxes. Continuity comforts. Perhaps you fear time passing, or rush it unknowingly. Tonight, let this moment stay. It leaves when ready. The man rests his hand on the wall and murmurs softly. Each day ends by itself. Story 37. The shared silence. 2 friends sit together on a porch. No conversation needed. Night air settles gently. Crickets provide company. Once, silence made them uneasy. Words filled every gap. Explanations followed pauses. Rest felt earned through talk. Time deepened their trust. Silence became safe. Presence became enough. No proof required. In Buddhist teaching, right companionship rests here. Being without fixing. Listening without responding. Togetherness without demand. They rock slowly in their chairs. Breaths fall into rhythm. Nothing is missing. Nothing extra added. Perhaps you long for this ease. With others. Or yourself. Tonight, allow quiet. You are still here. One friend smiles faintly and says softly, silence speaks when we listen. Story 38. The path after rain. Rain darkens the earth briefly. A path glistens softly. An old walker steps carefully, not avoiding puddles. Once, he waited for dryness, for perfect conditions, for certainty. Life passed quietly meanwhile. Now he walks as things are. Shoes damp, heart light. The path holds regardless. Rain cannot undo it. In Buddhist teaching, conditions are temporary. Practice continues anyway. Adaptation replaces resistance. Peace follows flexibility. He reaches the end untroubled. Water dries naturally. The body remains warm. Trust deepens. Perhaps your circumstances feel wet tonight. Not ideal. Still workable. Still safe. The walker nods to the sky and whispers kindly, "I walk as I am." Story 39. The low shelf. A low shelf holds simple objects. A bowl. A stone. A cup. An old monk arranges them carefully. Nothing placed high. He once stacked importance upward, chasing higher goals, reaching endlessly, forgetting what rests near. The low shelf taught humility. What is close supports best. What is simple endures. What is reachable comforts. In Buddhist teaching, ordinariness holds wisdom. The sacred hides in plain view. Attention reveals it. Effort obscure it. He sits beside the shelf, quietly. Objects unchanged. Meaning deepened. Perhaps you search far for peace, overlooking what is near. Tonight, notice the simple. It waits patiently. The monk bows slightly and murmurs, "What is close is enough." Story 40. The last light in the hall. A hallway grows dim as evening deepens. One light remains on. An old teacher pauses beneath it, hands resting at his sides. He once kept all lights blazing, fearful of darkness, afraid of losing clarity, exhausted by brightness. Now one light feels sufficient, guiding without overwhelming, softening shadows, allowing rest. In Buddhist teaching, clarity does not require excess. Awareness shines quietly. Darkness need not be feared. It cradles rest. He switches the light off gently. Darkness settles kindly. Nothing disappears. The teacher whispers into the quiet hall. When light rests, peace remains. Story 41. The quiet porch light. A small porch light glows against the dark. Not bright. Not dim. Just steady. An elderly woman watches it from inside. Her day has finally loosened its grip. She once kept every light blazing. Kitchen. Hallway. Bedroom. Mind. Brightness felt like readiness, like proof she was still holding everything together. Years of long evenings taught her otherwise. Too much light invites restlessness. Shadows need space to soften. Night needs permission to arrive. The porch light remains on alone. It does not chase darkness away. It simply offers guidance, enough to find the door. In Buddhist teaching, this is right effort. Not forcing, not withdrawing, meeting the moment as it is. She sits back in her chair, breath slowing on its own, thoughts thinning like mist, the body sensing safety. She remembers nights of overthinking, replaying conversations, correcting mistakes that had already passed, trying to outwork time itself. The porch light never asked that of her. It only shines, then rests, trusting the dark to do its part. Perhaps you feel responsible for too much light, illuminating every worry, every possibility, every imagined outcome. Tonight, you may leave one light on, just enough awareness, just enough kindness. Let the rest dim naturally. The woman turns off the lamp beside her. The porch light remains. She whispers into the calm room. Guidance does not require constant brightness. Story 42. The wooden spoon. A wooden spoon rests beside the stove, worn smooth by years of use. An old cook holds it gently. It has stirred many meals. Once, she replaced tools often, seeking better results, faster methods, perfect flavors. But this spoon stayed, through burnt soups and simple stews, through rushed dinners and quiet nights. It never complained. Her hands learned its shape. Grip relaxed. Movement softened. Cooking slowed. In Buddhist teaching, familiarity deepens care. What we stay with teaches us. What we constantly replace never settles. Patience reveals flavor. She stirs tonight without thinking. The body remembers. The mind rests. The meal becomes secondary. Steam rises quietly. The kitchen feels warm. Nothing needs improving. Nothing is lacking. Perhaps you search for better tools constantly. Better plans. Better versions of yourself. Tonight, stay with what you have. The cook sets the spoon down, smiles faintly, and murmurs kindly. What remains teaches me enough. Story 43. The back staircase. A narrow staircase leads down the back of the house. Less used, less polished, quiet. An elderly man prefers these steps now. They creak honestly. They ask for attention. They slow him naturally. Once, he rushed the front stairs. Wide, bright, impressive. He took them two at a time, always arriving breathless. The back staircase taught him something new. Each step must be met. No skipping, no display. In Buddhist teaching, humility steadies the mind. Simple paths support deep rest. What is hidden often heals. What is quiet endures. He descends carefully. Hand on the rail. Breath steady. Thoughts absent. At the bottom, nothing dramatic waits. Just a familiar room. Just himself. Just presence. Perhaps you rush visible paths. Chasing recognition. Avoiding slowness. Tonight, take the back stairs. The man pauses on the last step and whispers softly, "The quiet way carries me gently." Story 44. The closed shop. A small shop closes at dusk. The sign flips quietly. Lights dim. Doors lock without ceremony. An old shopkeeper completes his routine. Same order every night. No rush. No regret. Years ago, he stayed open too long, chasing one more sale, one more task, one more reason not to rest. The body protested slowly. Sleep grew shallow. Patience thinned. Joy faded. In Buddhist teaching, knowing when to stop is wisdom. Endings protect beginnings. Rest sustains effort. Closure invites peace. Now, he locks the door calmly. The day is finished. Nothing unfinished follows him home. Tomorrow can wait. Perhaps your days never close. Thoughts keep the sign lit. Tasks linger in the mind. Tonight, flip the sign. The shopkeeper bows to the empty street and says gently, "Enough has been done." Story 45. The shared table. A long table sits beneath soft light. Simple plates arranged neatly. An elderly host waits quietly. No hurry to begin. Once, meals were performances. Perfect timing. Perfect presentation. Tension disguised as care. Now the table welcomes as it is. Some chairs empty. Some filled. Enough regardless. In Buddhist teaching, generosity begins with ease. Offering without strain. Receiving without debt. Presence completes the meal. Guests arrive slowly. Conversation flows gently. Silence appears comfortably. The food tastes warmer. Perhaps you strain to host life perfectly, managing impressions, managing outcomes. Tonight, let the table be simple. The host smiles quietly and whispers, "What is shared with ease nourishes deeply." Story 46. The folded map. A paper map lies folded on a desk, edges softened by years. An old traveler studies it briefly, then sets it aside. He once followed maps rigidly, every turn exact, every detour feared. Control masquerading as safety. Life taught him flexibility. Roads change, conditions shift. Discovery lives between lines. In Buddhist teaching, direction matters less than presence. Awareness guides better than plans. Trust replaces certainty. Movement becomes gentle. He steps outside without the map. The night feels welcoming. The path familiar enough. Mistakes forgiven. Perhaps you cling to maps tightly. Plans. Timelines. Expectations. Tonight, fold them gently. The way appears step by step. The traveler smiles into the dark and murmurs, "I arrive by walking." Story 47. The soft knock. A soft knock sounds at the door. Not urgent, not loud, patient. An elderly woman pauses before answering. No rush, no fear, just listening. Once, knocks startled her. Demands felt endless. Interruptions unwelcome. Rest always postponed. Now she hears differently. A request, not a threat. An invitation, not an order. Choice returns. In Buddhist teaching, response matters more than reaction. Space before action softens life. Listening calms the heart. Awareness guides kindness. She opens the door slowly. A neighbor smiles briefly. Words exchanged lightly. No weight carried inside. Perhaps your mind knocks constantly. Urgent thoughts. Unfinished worries. Tonight, pause before answering. The woman closes the door gently and whispers, "I respond when ready." Story 48. The night train passing. A distant train passes in the night. Low sound, steady rhythm, then fading. An old listener lies awake briefly. The sound once disturbed him, reminded him of leaving, of missing. Now it comforts him. Movement without participation, travel without effort, life continuing gently. In Buddhist teaching, not everything requires involvement. Witnessing is enough. Participation is optional. Rest grows there. The train disappears into quiet. Sleep returns naturally. Nothing followed. Perhaps sounds wake you at night. Thoughts like passing trains. Tonight, let them go. The listener breathes softly and murmurs, "What passes does not take me with it." Story 49. The old shoes. A pair of shoes rests by the door. Leather creased. Soles worn. Faithful companions. An old man removes them carefully. Feet grateful. Day complete. No distance left to prove. Once, he measured miles obsessively. Steps counted. Progress tracked. Worth evaluated. Now he values arrival. Sitting, removing weight, feeling the ground. In Buddhist teaching, effort ends in rest. Practice includes stopping. Walking includes pausing. Completion arrives naturally. Perhaps you never remove your shoes mentally. Always ready to go. Always braced. Tonight, take them off. The man places the shoes neatly and whispers, "I have walked enough today." Story 50. The final cup of water. A cup of water sits by the bed. Clear, still, waiting. An old teacher lifts it slowly. Takes one sip. Not thirsty, just present. Once, He drank hurriedly, distracted, unsatisfied, always reaching for more. Now one sip completes the day. Nueces. No rush. Enough. In Buddhist teaching, contentment rests here, knowing when to stop, receiving without grasping, ending gently. He sets the cup down, lies back. The night holds him. He whispers softly into the dark. Nothing more is needed. Story 51. The gentle ceiling fan. A ceiling fan turns slowly above the bed. Its sound is steady and soft. An elderly man lies beneath it, hands resting easily on his chest. He once needed complete silence to sleep. Any sound felt intrusive. Any movement kept his mind alert. Rest depended on perfect conditions. Years of living softened his demands. Perfection never stayed long. Noise always found a way in. So he learned to listen differently. The fan does not rush. It circles patiently, never trying to arrive, just moving air with care. In Buddhist teaching, repetition calms the mind. Steady rhythms soothe the nervous heart. What is predictable becomes friendly. What is friendly allows rest. He matches his breath to the fan. Inhale with one turn. Exhale with the next. Thoughts slow without instruction. Memories pass briefly. Old worries drift through. The fan does not respond. Neither does he. Perhaps your mind resists small sounds. Traffic, ticking, distant movement. Tonight, let them join you. They need not be enemies. The man smiles faintly in the dim room and whispers quietly, "What moves gently can hold me." Story 52. The half-filled sink. A kitchen sink sits half-filled with dishes. Water cooled. Soap settled. An old woman looks at it calmly. No urgency rises. Once, unfinished tasks haunted her nights. Lists replayed endlessly. Completion equaled worth. Rest waited behind productivity. Age taught her another rhythm. Some things wait safely. Nothing collapses overnight. Life continues kindly. In Buddhist teaching, non-urgency protects the heart. The present moment does not accuse. Tasks exist without judgment. Being is enough. She turns off the kitchen light, leaves the sink as it is. The house does not protest. The night accepts it. Perhaps you carry unfinished tasks into bed. Mental sinks overflowing. Hands still scrubbing in thought. Tonight, set them down. The woman climbs the stairs slowly and murmurs gently, "What waits will wait." Story 53. The reading glasses. Reading glasses rest on a small table, folded carefully. Scratches catching the light. An old scholar removes them slowly. He once wore them constantly, searching for clarity everywhere. Reading late into the night. Eyes tired. Mind restless. Now he knows when to stop. Words blur intentionally. Vision softens. Rest becomes clear. In Buddhist teaching, insight has limits. Understanding must bow to rest. Wisdom includes stopping. Eyes close when ready. He sets the glasses down gently. The room loses sharp edges. Comfort grows. Nothing important disappears. Perhaps you keep reading life too closely, analyzing every moment, seeking meaning everywhere. Tonight, let things blur. The scholar whispers softly. Clarity also lives in rest. Story 54. The night breeze. A night breeze slips through the trees. Leaves rustle quietly. An old listener sits on the steps. Jacket loose around his shoulders. He once braced against wind, pulling tight, resisting cold, meeting nature with tension. Now he receives the breeze, lets it pass over him. No battle, no complaint. In Buddhist teaching, resistance creates discomfort. Allowance creates ease. Nature teaches without words. We learn by listening. The breeze carries distant scents. Earth, grass, rain. The body relaxes. The mind follows. Perhaps you brace against feelings, against change, against tiredness. Tonight, allow the breeze. The man closes his eyes gently and murmurs, "What passes through leaves peace behind." Story 55. The simple alarm. An alarm clock sits beside the bed, set early, but not feared. An old teacher glances at it briefly, then turns away. Once, alarms filled him with dread. Another day to perform, another chance to fall short. Sleep felt fragile. Time softened his relationship with mornings. Each day arrives regardless. Fear does not prepare it. Rest supports it. In Buddhist teaching, anticipation fuels suffering. Tomorrow does not need rehearsal. Presence steadies us. Sleep heals quietly. He trusts the alarm to ring. Until then, nothing required. The body releases vigilance. Night deepens. Perhaps you rehearse tomorrow endlessly. Conversations, tasks, worries. Tonight, trust time. It will arrive. The teacher whispers softly. Morning finds me without effort. Story 56. The low fire. A small fire burns low in the hearth. Embers glow gently. An old caretaker watches quietly. No logs added. Once, he fed flames constantly. Bigger, brighter, hotter. Afraid warmth would vanish. Exhausted by tending. Now he respects embers. They hold steady heat. They do not demand attention. They endure. In Buddhist teaching, sustainability matters. Burnout teaches limits. Gentle warmth lasts longer. Care includes restraint. The fire hums softly. The room stays warm. No effort wasted. Perhaps you push your inner fire too hard. Always adding fuel. Always striving. Tonight, let embers glow. The caretaker smiles and whispers, "Enough warmth already lives here." Story 57. The open book left face down. A book lies open on the bed, pages facing down. Bookmark resting loosely. An old reader paused mid-chapter. He once forced himself to finish, even when eyes burned, even when meaning slipped away. Completion over comfort. Now he trusts return. Stories wait patiently. Pages do not resent pauses. Understanding deepens later. In Buddhist teaching, continuity does not require force. What matters returns naturally. Rest strengthens attention. Stopping honors learning. He turns off the light gently. The book remains where it is. No guilt arises. Sleep feels welcoming. Perhaps you force completion everywhere. Projects, thoughts, emotions. Tonight, pause mid-page. You will return. The reader whispers softly. Nothing meaningful is lost by resting. Story 58. The quiet refrigerator. A refrigerator hums softly in the kitchen. Steady, dependable. An old man notices it briefly, then lets it fade. Once, small sounds irritated him. Sleep felt fragile. Silence demanded. Control tight. Now the hum reassures him. Life continues. Needs are met. Systems work quietly. In Buddhist teaching, Trust relaxes vigilance. Not everything needs monitoring. Support exists unseen. Rest follows trust. The hum blends into night. Breath deepens. Thoughts soften. Perhaps background worries hum in you. Financial, practical, unseen. Tonight, trust quiet systems. They hold you. The man murmurs kindly. What supports me does not shout. Story 59. The warm socks. A pair of warm socks lies ready. Knitted long ago. Soft from use. An old woman slips them on. She once ignored small comforts, believing toughness mattered. Endurance proved strength. Gentleness felt indulgent. Life taught her otherwise. Small comforts ground the body. Warmth invites safety. Safety invites rest. In Buddhist teaching, kindness begins small. Care for the body supports the mind. Nothing trivial about warmth. Compassion starts here. Her feet relax immediately. Legs follow. Breath slows. Perhaps you deny yourself comfort, waiting for permission. Tonight, allow warmth. You deserve ease. She smiles softly and whispers, gentleness carries me through the night. Story 60. The final deep breath. The room grows very still. Lights off. Curtains drawn. An old teacher lies quietly. He notices one last deep breath. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. No instruction needed. Once, he controlled breathing tightly. Techniques stacked upon techniques. Effort replacing ease. Sleep becoming work. Now breath happens by itself. The body knows. Trust returns. Awareness fades gently. In Buddhist teaching, letting be completes practice. Nothing left to do. Nothing left to improve. Rest arrives naturally. The teacher whispers softly into the dark. This breath is enough. Story 61. The lamp left on in the kitchen. The kitchen is quiet after a long day. One small lamp stays on by the sink. Its light is soft and steady. An elderly woman notices it as she passes. She once turned off every light precisely. Nothing wasted. Nothing forgotten. Control felt like responsibility. Rest came only after checking everything twice. Over time, her body asked for kindness. Not everything needed perfect order. Some light could remain. Nothing bad would happen. The lamp stays on tonight. It does not demand attention. It simply keeps the room gentle. A quiet promise of return. In Buddhist teaching, ease is not carelessness. It is trust in what already works. Holding lightly prevents exhaustion. Letting be protects the heart. She moves toward bed slowly. Her shoulders lower. The house breathes with her. Nothing is unfinished in this moment. Perhaps you keep every inner light burning, monitoring thoughts, reviewing mistakes, preparing endlessly. Tonight, leave one lamp on, not to stay awake, but to feel safe enough to sleep. The woman smiles faintly in the hallway and whispers to the quiet walls. Gentle light does not disturb rest. Story 62. The waiting bus stop. A bus stop sits empty under dim light. A bench cool from evening air. An elderly man sits patiently. No bus schedule in his hand. He once checked times obsessively, worried about delays, angry at waiting, treating pauses like failures. Now he simply sits. If the bus comes, it comes. If it waits, he waits. Nothing is wrong either way. In Buddhist teaching, waiting is not wasted. Presence does not depend on movement. Stillness belongs to life. Peace arrives without transport. The street remains quiet. A breeze moves trash lightly. The man feels supported. The bench holds him fully. Perhaps you wait anxiously in life. For answers. For changes. For relief. Tonight. Sit at the bus stop. No schedule needed. Rest happens here too. The man closes his eyes briefly and murmurs softly, "I arrive even when I wait." Story 63. The cup in the sink. A single cup rests in the sink. Water droplets cling to its side. An old teacher notices it calmly. No urge to wash it now. Once, he cleared every trace immediately. Completion felt urgent. Order felt moral. Rest was postponed. Life softened his stance. One cup can wait. Nothing spills into chaos. The night remains intact. In Buddhist teaching, small incompletions are harmless. The mind creates urgency. Reality does not. Compassion allows pause. He turns away from the sink. The cup remains. No guilt follows him. Sleep welcomes him easily. Perhaps you cannot rest until everything is done. Even when tired. Even when done enough. Tonight, leave one cup. The world will hold. The teacher smiles gently and whispers, "Enough is already complete." Story 64. The old radio. A radio hums quietly in the corner. Low volume. Familiar voice. An elderly listener reclines in a chair, not following every word. Once, noise bothered him deeply. Silence felt necessary. Control felt protective. Rest felt fragile. Now the radio comforts him. A human sound in the night. Nothing demanding. Nothing sharp. In Buddhist teaching, neutrality calms the mind. Not pleasant or unpleasant. Just present. Just passing. The voice fades in importance. Sound becomes texture. Thoughts loosen. Sleep approaches gently. Perhaps your mind needs gentle sound. Not silence. Not intensity. Just companionship. The listener smiles softly and murmurs, "Not everything needs my attention." Story 65. The door left unlocked. A back door rests closed but unlocked. The night is calm. An old man checks it once, then leaves it. He once locked everything tightly. Fear guided his hands. Safety demanded vigilance. Rest never fully arrived. Years taught him discernment. Not all risk is danger. Not all control is safety. Trust has its place. In Buddhist teaching, fear tightens the body. Trust loosens it. Wisdom knows the difference. Peace follows trust. He walks toward bed unburdened. The door stays as it is. The night feels kind. Perhaps you guard yourself constantly. From thoughts, from feelings, from rest itself. Tonight, loosen one lock. You are safe enough. The man whispers gently, "I do not need to guard the night." Story 66. The slowed heartbeat. Lying quietly. An old woman notices her heart. Not racing, not slow. Just steady. She once worried about every sensation, listening too closely, interpreting danger, creating fear from awareness. Now she listens kindly. The heart knows its work. No supervision required. Trust returns. In Buddhist teaching, the body carries wisdom. Interference creates tension. Allowance creates harmony. Rest listens without fixing. Her breath follows naturally. Thoughts fade like echoes. Sleep approaches without effort. Perhaps you monitor yourself too closely. body, mind, emotions. Tonight, step back gently. She smiles into the dark and whispers, "My body knows how to rest." Story 67. The quiet streetlight. A streetlight glows outside the window. It circles steady on the pavement. An elderly watcher notices it briefly, then lets it be. Once, outside light annoyed him, interrupted darkness, invaded rest, demanded control. Now it feels protective, a marker of calm presence, neither bright nor harsh, simply there. In Buddhist teaching, coexistence replaces resistance. What we allow stops fighting us. Acceptance softens edges. Peace grows quietly. The light does not flicker, neither does his mind. Sleep settles gently. Perhaps something external disturbs you. Light, sound, memory. Tonight, let it coexist. The watcher murmurs softly, "What I allow no longer disturbs me." Story 68. The book returned to the shelf. A book is placed back on the shelf. Not finished, not abandoned, just resting. An old reader runs a hand along the spine. No regret or ease. Stories wait patiently. They always have. Once, he forced completion, even when tired, even when meaning slipped away. Rest felt undeserved. In Buddhist teaching, return is not loss. Pausing honors attention. Rest deepens understanding. Nothing meaningful disappears. He turns away from the shelf. The book remains quietly. The night welcomes him. Perhaps you fear leaving things unfinished. Tonight, let them rest. They will meet you again. The reader whispers kindly. What matters waits without anger. Story 69. The cooling tea. A cup of tea cools on the table. Steam fades slowly. An old teacher watches without concern. No rush to drink. Once, he consumed quickly, chasing warmth, chasing comfort, missing the moment. Now he waits. Tea tastes different when cooled. Gentler, more forgiving. In Buddhist teaching, patience changes flavor. Waiting reveals subtleties. Hurrying dulls experience. Time is an ally. He takes a sip eventually. Content. Satisfied. Unhurried. Perhaps you rush comfort, trying to feel better fast. Tonight, let things cool. The teacher smiles softly and murmurs, "Gentleness reveals sweetness." Story 70. The night fully arrived. The house is fully still now. No movement. No expectation. Night has arrived completely. An elderly Zen storyteller rests quietly. Breath slow. Heart calm. Nothing left to say. Once, nights felt incomplete. Unfinished thoughts lingered. Sleep was chased. Rest resisted. Now night is allowed. Darkness welcomed. Silence trusted. The body softens. In Buddhist teaching, surrender completes the day. Not giving up, but giving over. Letting life hold us. The storyteller whispers softly, almost smiling, "You have done enough. You are enough. Rest now." Story 71. The clock that no longer hurried. The clock on the wall ticks softly tonight. Not loud, not demanding, just steady, like a calm breath. An elderly Zen man lies beneath its sound. Once, this clock ruled his nights. Each tick pressed him forward. Each minute felt like judgment. He measured sleep by hours, measured worth by productivity, measured peace by control. The clock became a quiet tyrant. Over many years, something softened. The body aged. Ambition loosened. Listening replaced managing. One night, long ago, the clock stopped. No warning, no drama, just silence where sound once lived. Fear came first, then confusion, then a strange relief followed. Nothing collapsed without the ticking. Morning still arrived. The sun did not ask permission. The world continued breathing. Life was not late. In Buddhist teaching, time is a helper, not a master. Moments arrive on their own. Forcing them creates strain. Allowing them brings ease. The clock was fixed later. Its ticking returned. But its authority did not. The man had changed. Tonight, the sound feels different. Like rain on a roof. Like footsteps passing by. Present, but not personal. He does not calculate sleep anymore. He lets rest come when ready. He lets wakefulness be gentle. Nothing is wasted in awareness. The mind drifts. Thoughts slow. Breath deepens naturally. The clock ticks on. Perhaps you listen to time closely, counting minutes, worrying about tomorrow, judging this moment. Tonight, let time pass you kindly. You do not need to chase it. You are already here. The old Zen man whispers softly. Time walks beside me now. Not ahead, not behind. Story 72. The jacket left on the chair. A jacket rests on the back of a chair. Worn earlier. Still warm. An elderly woman notices it before bed. Once, she put everything away immediately. Order brought relief. Completion felt safe. Loose ends created unease. Tonight, the jacket stays. It belongs to the day that ended. Tomorrow will decide its place. Nothing is wrong with waiting. She touches the fabric gently. It carries the shape of her shoulders, the memory of movement, the weight of effort released. In her younger years, she held everything tightly. Responsibilities, family needs, unspoken expectations. Her body learned the cost. Tension settled into muscles. Sleep became shallow. The mind replayed unfinished scenes. Buddhist wisdom speaks softly about grasping. What we cling to weighs us down. What we set down can rest. Letting go is kindness, not neglect. She sits on the bed slowly. The jacket remains visible. It does not accuse her. It does not demand action. The room feels lived in, human, forgiving, not staged for approval. Breath moves easily now. The shoulders drop. The jaw softens. The night accepts her as she is. Perhaps you also struggle with completion, wanting everything resolved, every task closed, every feeling handled. Tonight, leave something on the chair, a thought, a plan, a worry. Let it rest outside your body. You may return later, or not at all. The woman turns off the lamp. Darkness arrives gently. She whispers into the quiet room. Some things can wait, and still be loved. The night holds you now. Without effort, nothing else is needed. Your breath knows the way home. Thoughts may drift like distant clouds. You do not need to follow them. They pass on their own. The body settles, layer by layer. Muscles loosen their old work. The heart rests in simple rhythm. You are allowed to stop holding, allowed to pause the story, allowed to be unfinished tonight. If sleep comes, welcome it gently. If wakefulness stays, that is also fine. Both belong to this quiet moment. Feel the bed supporting you. Feel the air touch your skin. Feel how nothing asks more of you. This is enough for now. You have carried the day far enough. The night carries you the rest. Rest softly. Drift naturally. You are safe to sleep.